Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the GameDev.tv community podcast. I'm your host, KB, and this podcast brings you the audio experience of GameDev.tv. Now, let's get right into the podcast. It's always a little different because when I interview people, nobody really knows them. But since you're an instructor, it's a little different. So, this is the GameDev.tv community podcast. We have Grant on today to let you guys know more about Blender, the course, and just learn more about who he is. So we're going to get started with you letting them know a little bit about who you are, and then we'll just go into how you got started with GameDev.tv.
Okay, so I started a YouTube channel, and that was about 7 years ago, and it kind of took off in the last, I suppose, year or so, and that's when the GameDev.tv people said, let's see what this guy can do. Maybe he can make a course. And that was about a month or so ago. It's sort of beginning of lockdown, really, and it's been a happy relationship ever since. I've been doing Blender now for about 20 years, but that's very much on and off. So I would say properly sort of about 5 years, if you can call it properly even. And yeah. I teach, games design at a local college, and I've been doing that for the last sort of 4 years. Again, sort of doing Blender type themes. Is that enough?
that was perfect. Yeah. Wow. So I didn't even know you did game design. I thought it was just all Blender, more Blender. But so how did you get started with like game development? How did that all happen?
Yeah. So this was way back when I was about 18, looking for work, and I was in W.H. Smith's once, looking at the magazines in W.H. Smith's, thinking, what could I do? What's my interest? What am I excited about? And I looked at all the art magazines, and there was a 3D magazine now. I think it was 3D World, but I can't actually remember which one it was specifically. And I was looking through that thinking, wow, what an amazing career this would be. So I always wanted to do that, but I kind of, I went into film and sort of film work and stuff because it was very hard back then. This was, again, 20 or so years ago. And not to uncover my age too much there. But it was really, really hard to get into the industry. So all the universities, well, there are very few universities and stuff doing that, and they're all in America, nothing in the UK, well, that I could find at the time. And film was a bit more accessible. So I went into film, did a bit of animation within the film stuff. So played around with Blender, but it was quite hard to pick up then because there was no YouTube then. So I remember getting a VHS tape and trying to learn. It was actually Maya was trying to learn, but I went across to Blender after that. But on this VHS tape, where you couldn't, if the icons were so blurry on the screen, it was so difficult to follow. But the pain is real.
Imagine that, yeah. You're like, where's the HD? No, it doesn't exist.
Exactly that. Oh dear. So that was tough, and but that was my first tinkering with Blender, playing around and making stuff happen. But then I sort of fell into teaching, and it was just media studies teaching. I say just media studies, but not the game side of things that I really wanted. And actually, I was teaching IT to start off with, so just computers in general, and then sort of slowly worked my way back to media, and then into games design. And then I thought, right, here we go, back to Blender and 3D art. Which I love.
Yeah. And so is that Blender where you wanted to end up? That's like your like happy place. You're like, this is what I want to do. Right?
Yeah. As a 3D artist, definitely. As an artist of any sort, actually, that's the main thing is the art skills. That's what I value the most, because I think Blender is just a tool, and it's a tool for being creative. So yeah, it's all about the art, and being able to be an artist is like a dream come true.
Yeah, so that's awesome because you started in IT and all that other stuff, and now you're all the way over here. We're doing what you want to do, and that took, you said, like 20 years?
Yeah, 20 years.
So it's like all GameDev.tv students, you know, they have that beginning where they're like, what do I want to do? Is this where I should go? It's a huge idea to think like, hey, I want to do this for the rest of my life, but it's like just start somewhere, and you never know where you eventually end up where you want to be. So
totally agree.
I love hearing that because it's like a lot of people don't understand that that's how it is. Like even because me, I'm starting now and I think the same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be this, but I just take it day by day. But when we do all these podcasts, we get a lot of people who are like, yeah, it took 7 years or 11 years or 20 years to get to where I want to be. It's like, yeah, it takes time.
Yeah, definitely. And,
So-
I still don't feel like I'm there. I feel like I've got years to go before I actually get there, you know. So it's always a journey, isn't it? It's great fun though.
It's what's the saying? The journey is the most important part. Or
yeah, it's far better to travel than it is to arrive.
there you go. That's even better. I love it. But yeah, so everybody knows you a lot from the YouTube, because I actually didn't know about you until you joined the team. But let's let everybody else know too, who hasn't like heard about you before. Like, what is the YouTube channel and how did that get started?
Yeah, so it's called Abbitt Media, and the very first start of it was actually when I was teaching media studies at school, and I thought I was teaching quite a tough class, and some of them would turn up one day and not the next. So I thought, right, I'm going to record things, and then when they say, how do I do this? I'll just show them the video, and that'll be easier. And that's how the whole channel started. But when I started the games design stuff, and then I looked at the things online, I thought, I think I could actually do this and make something of it. I didn't really think it would get to where it is now, which is I think it's 210,000 subscribers now. So it's one of the sort of bigger Blender channels out there, I suppose.
Blender gurus.
Yes, Blender Guru just passed 1 million, so I've got a long way to go there. But I remember watching him. I watched him at the very beginning, so I've learned a lot from him, and I do appreciate what he does, certainly. But mine is better.
I agree. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah. I'm coming after him.
Oh man. But yeah, so I know in some videos you talk about, you do Blender displays. You can make this, you can make a well, you can make a Deadpool. But you also talk about like different strategies or different ways to think about success. Like I know you did one where it was about the shortcut, where people made shortcuts and someone tried to make your video and stuff like that. So you get a little bit more into detail of like how people can learn it to not take the shortcuts and like, let's say, the Blender journey when they're trying to study and learn. Yeah,
it's a tough one because different people learn in different ways, and the best type of practice is practice you can stick to. So you've got to fit it into your routine in the best possible way. So if you've only got 10 minutes a day, then your practice can only be 10 minutes a day. And if you try and make it 20 minutes and you can't fit it in, you'll give up really quickly. So for me, it's all about that sort of consistency of approach and try and get it that routine going. And maybe when that routine gets a bit more established, then you can start pushing it and adapting that routine maybe to 20 minutes if you can possibly fit it in. But you just have to do as much as you can and works for your lifestyle, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Because I've struggled with that. I'm like, I want to learn 6 hours every day.
Yeah, exactly. And people start off like that and they give up straight away, don't they?
Yeah, it's like I get it done for like maybe 1 or 2 days and then just things happen. And then I feel so bad about myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have done it or I should have done this. And it's just like, it's just a downward spiral that I don't want to go on anymore.
Exactly that. At the moment, I'm trying to improve my artwork. So I'm quite comfortable in the program and Blender the program, but I know that I really want to be a good character artist as well as a 3D character artist. So I know I've got to practice poses each day. And some days it's just 20 minutes. In fact, some days it's just 10 minutes. But as long as I do it each day, I know that I'm just building and building and building, and I will get good at it one day.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's hard too because like sometimes when you do something for like 10 minutes, you feel like it's not enough. How do you get over that? Yeah. Like, did I actually learn something today? Did I improve? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, that's totally the case. But I always think about the 10,000 hour rule, even though it's actually kind of been debunked recently. I like to think of it like that because just you're chipping away like that big stone, carving away slowly, and some days it's going to be a tiny little chip, but you've still made progress. It's all about the progress, moving forwards rather than just stagnating. And some days you'll suddenly have a binge where you might do that 6 hours, which I don't think I've ever done with artwork. But sometimes when I'm sculpting on the computer, I can go for hours and hours. But it's tough when you're trying to really practice hard at, let's say, character drawing or something. That can be quite tough. If it's a masterpiece that's got loads in it, then it's not so bad. So occasionally you'll have that sort of binge period, but it's those hard times where it's hard to practice or hard to find the time. That's where your true willpower comes out, and you've got to keep going and chipping away, as I see it.
Now, what if you don't have that willpower? What would you say to those students?
That
reward themselves with candy afterwards?
maybe. Do you know, that's a really good question, and I think that's where it's important to make it fun. Your practice. So if you want to be a great character artist, but you're struggling to get the willpower to practice faces every day or hands every day, because hands are a blooming nightmare, aren't they?
Oh, no, I can't do
that. But so maybe just don't concentrate on those. Do fun, silly characters for a week or so, and then when you build up that confidence, then you can gradually move on. Make the easy wins, I like to call them. I call them easy wins in the classroom. So I always have a little starter activity which everybody should be able to do really easily, and then everybody's, oh wow, I made a duck in 10 minutes or something, and it's just a nice easy win that everybody thinks, right, I can do this. Yeah, easy wins.
Easy wins. Well, that is really important for anything, for 3D art, for programming, for anything, especially programming. That one could be difficult sometimes, but it's like, yeah, do an easy win, and then you're like, okay, let's go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and you're all set.
Yep.
I think I wish I heard this like 2 years ago, because I've been struggling so much and trying to like learn things, because I think it has to be like all the time. So this has helped me, and I hope this helps a lot of other GameDev.tv students. And then, so you're basically saying like just do one lecture a day, and you should be fine as long as you're like focused on that 1 10-minute video. Because that's another thing too. You might not be focused, you might be, I don't know, distracted. But if you can do 1 10-minute video, hone in on it, do the challenge, you'll be set.
Definitely. Definitely. You might not even manage that per day, but try the best you can. But I always desperately don't want to discourage people. So even if that's too much, then just make it smaller and smaller. I know that can get minute at this point, but it's still chipping away. That's so important.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's like you showed up, you're in the room, you're doing the blender. Not everyone came in today and studied how to make a donut, or yeah. So
exactly that.
I love it. This is gonna be the easy win podcast.
Exactly.
Now, what mistakes do you see most people making besides trying to put in 6 hours?
Yeah, I suppose it comes down to the program itself. Run before you can walk type scenarios. That's why I say easy wins, because it's so easy to get lost in a complex program like Blender, where the classic one I see is when you're extruding and most newbies, as it were, don't inset before they extrude, and they just extrude. So they end up with really sort of sharp angles everywhere. And then geometry that underlaps itself, sort of goes inside itself. And,
oh, no, I hate that.
And it's just such a difficult one to try and explain what's happened. So they just get really disheartened, and this shape is just not working. You can't work on it. It's a horrible scenario, but it always happens to new students. And learning to overcome those is one of the first things that I try and teach people.
Now, for the character course, how daunting is it to make like an actual character with rigging and stuff? Or is it easier than I think, what we all think?
Yeah, it is daunting. That's why we desperately try to make it really baby steps all the way through. But there's some steps that you think, oh, this is a big step. So at the beginning, I'm just working on it now. We've got some extra sections because we're trying to make it so it is really accessible for beginners. So we're making a mech, and we're going to make some sort of tanks and vehicles and things.
Okay.
Just so, yeah, it's quite fun. I've just been doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it's just getting comfortable in the program before you move on to those bigger steps. So, but it is daunting, but in my opinion, again, Blender's just a tool, and I've seen loads of really cool looking ogres and orcs popping up. So, and they're from sort of beginner-ish people, sort of who've only been using it a few weeks, I suppose, and they're coming out with orcs and things. So it is possible, but it's more about your artistic skill. That's where you comes out, and you can express yourself, and that's where the fun is. And therefore, it becomes, you can take on anything when it's fun, can't you? You just think this is exciting.
True, yeah.
Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah, exactly. And you can go for it. You can be creative, and you just express yourself. It's wonderful. So not daunting so much. It is challenging, but it's exciting.
And then, so what tips would you have to make it fun? Like music? Do you plan at a certain time of day? Do you like, how do you make it more fun than if it's not fun already?
Yeah, so I do like to put on music, but I find myself doing that less and less because a lot of the time I'm doing live streams or something like that where I'm
Okay.
talking over the top. But my thing is inspiration. Get lots of inspiration
Hmm.
around you. So I always have a pure ref, it's references on the side in a programmer called which is called
Yeah.
Pure. Yeah, and have lots of pictures of cool. Maybe there's a really complex one, but there's a really easy one as well, like a cartoon one, but still looks cool. And you think, well, they've managed to do that. Maybe I could go somewhere in between, and it could look amazing. And just get excited about all these different orcs and ogres,
Yeah.
but have those in the background, inspiring you forward.
Yeah. Dang. Getting me excited. I want to go into Blender creator course, character course right
Yeah.
now. It's like, what can I do? What can I make? I just need 10 minutes a day.
Exactly. That's all you need.
Now, what common questions do you see on your YouTube videos?
Yeah, a lot of them are technical questions. What's gone wrong? In fact,
Yeah.
the worst ones are it didn't work. So I always try, but what didn't work? Where did it go wrong? I try and reply to as many comments as I can. It's getting tough now because there's a lot of them
Yeah,
now.
your audience is growing. Yeah.
Yeah, but most so all these sort of technical problems they're usually just a quick fix. But the one I repeatedly answer is what's gone wrong with my shape? I can't select the is it reverse normals and have you removed doubles? So if you look those two things up and know what they are, then you can solve a lot of things in Blender.
I gotta look into that because I see a lot of in the Q&A of the Udemy character course that just people ask all these questions, and some of them I'm like, I see a lot of like normals or my textures, and I'm like, I wonder if I can help them. And I'm like, no, but maybe Grant can.
Yeah, that's what
So,
I'm here for.
it's awesome what people create, like, and they'll post all the different orcs and stuff with different characters, and I'm like, because I look taking that stuff and posting on Instagram or just
Yeah,
showcasing and be like, you did a great job, you did this is amazing, like keep it up. So,
awesome.
like, what are some of the best things you've seen people create so far since you released the course?
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether because I've been doing it for a while whether it was going to be easy for me to or easy for people to replicate what I've done because I'm very comfortable when it comes to sculpting and I've got a graphics tablet as well, display tablet, so quite expensive bit of kit that helps and enables you to do it just that little bit faster and
Yeah.
easier. But there's people out there with a mouse sculpting, but they've come up with these
Oh, it's-
amazing orcs, and you think, whoa, that's amazing with a mouse. It's just brilliant. So it's fantastic to see that progress. It's just brilliant.
oh, that's amazing. Now, how do you come up with the challenges? Because I know this is an interesting thing that most people don't know about the GameDev.tv team. But like, what is the process like of like making a video and then making a challenge?
Yeah, for the most part with the Blender stuff, it's just sort of get up to where I am and sort of follow through. So there's a lot of just following through, which is the challenge. But the challenge most of the time is to try and make it your own and put your own personality in. So that's quite an important, and that's got to come from the student rather than us, to be honest. So it's more down to the student to obviously you can plod along and do the course, but to make it your own, that's where you express yourself when you come out. So that's more important than just paint by numbers, as it were. And I've heard a few people who've actually said they're going back to the beginning of the course and going to go through it again and make something with different reference images and maybe a different character. So that's quite exciting to hear about that. And I've seen a few around where they've gone in a completely different direction with a new character, and that's quite something, I think. But as with regards to the challenges, I suppose with a teaching background and quite a few years in teaching, you get used to the right sort of level to pitch it at to start off with, and then knowing the students a bit, which is hard online, obviously. But I generally know what students struggle with because I see them a lot in college and know their struggles, know the pain.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm able to sort of think of challenges and think of those easy wins, generally speaking, and create those challenges.
Nice. Now, how long does it take to make a course? For instance, like, what's like the brainstorming process like? Like, is it like, how do we want to make this section? What character should we like? How does it all go?
Yeah, that do you know, that's something that was kind of new to me when I joined the team, because I'd made mini courses on YouTube, which I'd put a fair bit into, but generally they'd last about 2 weeks at the most, because actually on YouTube it's not a good platform for it, because generally with a course people will drop out. It's just natural sort of progression with how it goes. But the first
video would be like 10,000, and then like the last like 5 would be like 500, and you're like, oh wow, they all dropped out.
Yes, and the YouTube algorithms don't like that, where it's sort of you're slowly getting less views each time, so they won't promote your videos. So courses aren't particularly good on YouTube unless you make them an hour long, and no one really, the people will see, oh yeah, I'll do that at one point, this hour-long video, but never get around to it. So, so unfortunately, YouTube isn't the best platform. So that's one reason why I thought, well, maybe a sort of paid-for course where I can put more effort in and really take my time over it. And the students have paid for it, so they're willing to put in the extra hours in. It's sort of committed to it. So it was quite new to me, the whole sort of how long does it take to make a course. And I was speaking a lot with and conversing with Rick Davidson from the team, and he's got a lot of experience in this. So we chatted about and put a poll out about what people would like to make in terms of a character and this sort of stuff. So there's a bit of research there, a bit of his experience, a bit of my teaching experience, and we sort of came up with this amalgamation of a course, which is the Beautiful Ogre.
Yes, I love it. Oh man. Now, what would you say about like sacrifices? Because I remember you made a video about it, but like, is that saying, hey, I'm going to spend 10 minutes today instead of 10 minutes playing games, 10 minutes going out with friends? Like, what would you define making sacrifices to get closer to your goals?
Yeah, I think that is important, because there is a discipline. As much as you try and make it fun, try and make it almost playtime as your practice, there still is a discipline, and you do have to think, well, I am, because I like playing games, but to be fair, I have played a game recently. I was playing, was it Divinity? Yeah, I can't even remember. It's a while ago now. But every now and again, I'll get into a game. But it's rare that I play games that I have the time, because I know that my goals are really to be a character artist. I want to be making the game rather than playing the game, and creating these worlds rather than running around in them. So I kind of sacrificed a bit of that sort of game playing for creating. Not saying that you can't play games, because like I say, I'm occasionally, and I like to play a bit of chess because it's much quicker. You can still play 5 games. Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll have to have a game sometime.
We're gonna have a GameDev.tv chess competition.
Yeah.
Actually, that sounds like a great idea. I want to challenge Ben. I bet he's really good.
Yeah, I bet he is. But yeah, so sacrifice, because I love those really immersive role-play games like The Witcher 3 oh man, and the artwork was amazing. It is the best game, hands down.
Are you gonna get Cyberpunk?
That I'm scared of it, actually, because I might waste my time playing.
Right, like I was like, that's why I'm like, that game is the only game I'll give myself the chance to like go into 100 hours, because I haven't done that for a game for a while. Like, I wish I could. Like, people were like, did you beat that game? I said, I played like half of it, haven't beat it. I was like, I played that one. I was like, for Cyberpunk, oh no, we're going all in.
Yeah. If it's anything like Witcher 3, then it's going to be awesome, isn't it? That was absolutely incredible.
It was. And then have you ever played Outer Worlds?
No, I didn't.
Fallout or Skyrim. So it's
Skyrim, yeah, of course, definitely.
So it's kind of like that type of RPG in the cyberpunk world. So that's why I'm excited, because I love those type of games. So give me that. Give me all that.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And then actually we have Max Pierce, one of the guys who did level design. He came on before, and we're gonna have him come on again, like when the game comes out, just to like talk about what he did in the game and like what he thought about these different levels. And I just can't wait for that.
Oh, that's good stuff, isn't it? I'll have to tune in for that one, definitely.
We'll try to change that one up too. We might do like live, or who knows? I don't know yet. I'm excited. We'll plan that one out.
Sent me a link for one of your videos that was talking about practice, and I was noticing how much of the advice that you were giving works for a lot of other disciplines as well. I mean, like, a little bit of practicing guitar every day, and you'll get better. A little bit of trying different kinds of programming exercise, even ones that you've done before. Yeah, that repetition and just kind of that consistency. So it's like, I really enjoyed that podcast. Cool. Do you find other things where you apply it? I mean, other than obviously being a Blender wizard?
Yeah, Oh, it's totally the case. Yeah. I try not to overload myself, but I am one of those people who's passionate about learning. So I like just developing myself. I feel I treat my life like I'm a role play character. So I've got to level up. I've got to
spend some time skilling up, right?
Yeah.
I thought I was the only one.
It's the Witcher thing again, isn't it? You think, oh, I've got to be better. I've got to be better. So I'm quite into football, actually, quite into sport, and I like to go out. And I'm quite sort of into physical exercise, weightlifting, and so forth.
So you mean like with soccer, basically, here in America, right?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So
soccer.
Yeah. So for American audiences, he's talking about soccer. For everyone else, it's football. One of my favorite sports. Yeah.
With the round one.
Yeah, the round one. So go with the World Cup. No.
So yeah. So I'm always applying these thoughts to that, and there's lots of things with practice, isn't there? There's quality practice. So I could just go out and have a game with my mates, but actually for me, it's more about sprint training. Because I know that if you're a faster sprinter, you're going to be better on the pitch. It's about, I don't know, going off on one here, but football and stuff, or soccer.
That's fine. We'll bring it back.
But I know also another important part of getting better at anything is to work on your weaknesses. So I practice every time I go out with the football, which is almost every day, like at least every 2 days minimum. I'll always practice my left foot because I'm not left-footed. And that will make me such a better player much faster. Work on your weaknesses and you become that. So if you're, because I know it's what it's like. You're really good at character art, so you always want to make characters. But what if suddenly you want a mechanical arm on there and you're no good at sort of hard surfaces in your painting or modeling? If you have to work on that, and then you can get a beautiful mech character or human robot-esque thing, and you've got so many more skills if you start working on those weaknesses and bring those up to a level rather than being this master of one thing, which could become obsolete at any point. You never know with this fast-moving world.
How do you go about identifying those weaknesses? Is that just kind of something you develop, that natural critical eye for your own performance, I guess?
That's a really good question. And I think that does take a maturity as an individual. You really need to recognize that's really important to me. And it's very interesting you say that. It's making me really think about my values.
That's what we do here.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the challenges for me as well. I find if I've written like a piece of music or something, it sounds great to me, but then I'll put it down for a week and listen to it again. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of crap. Right?
That's it. That is it, isn't it? Being able to take feedback. I can't remember who it was I was listening to, but I listened to sort of lots of podcasts and things about game development and the model making, 3D art. And they were saying, Pixar and all these people, what they look for the most is they can take their pick with very skilled people, but more important to them when they're picking someone is, are they self-reflective and can they take criticism? So being self-critical and taking that criticism on board is just so important for your character development, your personal development, and therefore realizing what you need to work on. And it's tough to take, isn't it? When you look back at that piece and you think, oh, that is not actually very good. And at the time you're thinking, this is the most amazing thing. I'm going to be famous. Everybody's going to love me.
And for your skill level, it probably was the most amazing thing you had done, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what do you say a lot of people, like, when they're making goals, right? So they want to make, let's say they want to make like the Brooklyn Bridge. Should they go like, I'm going to make the whole thing, or should they put in like smaller steps? Like, hey, I want to make just the top of the bridge, and then I want to make the towers, and I want to make a flag. Like, how should they set up making a huge project?
Yeah, I think it is important to have the big picture in mind, because we've all got somewhere, the top of the mountain that we're reaching. But if you are too focused on that, it's the classic can't tell the wood from the trees sort of scenario. And you get too blinded by all that awesomeness that's up there. And there's a fear that you're not going to make it, fear of failure and all that sort of thing. So you do have to break it down into steps, and having a sort of plan. I like to have lots of, even life goals. I have a sort of a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, and a 10-year plan. It's quite fun to have the smaller plans as well as the big picture, because the smaller plans, they're the little power-ups that you get with your character.
There you go, the little quest. You're like, oh,
yeah,
complete.
You've got a little quest. They're the side quests as well. They're the fun.
Yeah. That's interesting that you put it in that way, because that really helps a lot of people, especially because most game developers are gamers. And if you can put it in that way, it really frames things. And you're like, well, you know, if this is like life is the big game, these are just my smaller little quests, and I will get there eventually. But there's no need to rush the whole game, because then what's the point of playing if you're gonna rush the story? Like, it's not the same.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm one of those people as well that loves to complete all the side quests.
You see, there you go. Yeah, and it's just like, why not take your time? Basically, what I'm hearing from all this is just like, be patient. If you know where you're going, like with a game, you know it's going to end with your life. Like you have a 10-year goal, you're like, well, I want to be a character artist. Well, okay, then now don't rush about it. Just every day, make sure you show up 10 minutes a day, but do it, and you'll be fine. There's no pressure, because I feel like that can happen. You're like, I need to be this now, and like I only have 2 years, and then if I don't make it, like my life's over. It's like, no. You got this. Like, take your time, be patient, do the little side quests, and eventually you'll get to the boss at the end, and hopefully you're prepared for everything. Yeah, because that's usually what the boss is. It's like prepare everything you started with at the beginning of the game is preparing you for that epic moment at the end, and you face that dragon or whatever, and you say like, I got this.
That's exactly it. That's exactly my life in a nutshell. There
you go. But how do you create that though? Like that whole 10-year plan. Like, how do you know you're going in the right direction? How can someone set that up today?
Yeah, no, that's a good point actually. Again, it's down to the individual, but it's looking at getting inspiration. So always, so let's say The Witcher as a game. I looked at that and thought, oh, I'd love to be able to do this sort of environment art, this character art. I'm going to get there one day. And it can get a bit blind. You can think, oh, that's just so daunting. How on earth do I get to there? And where do I start? And that's when you start sort of building in the half plans. Well, maybe I can do the environment. Well, maybe I can do the tree. Let's actually find out how they make those trees, and then see if I can't sort of mimic that, do some maybe low poly ones to start with. Maybe just a low poly environment. Then your plans adapt, they merge and move on, and suddenly you're finding that you maybe can actually get somewhere near that sort of art style after a few years. But be prepared to adapt your plans as well, and be prepared for the hiccups as well that come in when you just feel like it's not happening. But chipping away, patience, is so important.
Speaking of facing a dragon, do you think we'll ever have a create a dragon in the character course?
Oh, wouldn't that be great? Maybe that's going to be the level 2 course, creating a dragon.
There you go.
Did you ever see that time lapse of the guy from Sony doing the dragon model?
No,
I don't think I've seen that. No.
Oh yeah, it's still out there. It's from like I think it was EverQuest 2. It's a time lapse over the course of him. I think it was 2 days. He goes like, starts from just a rectangular brush and starts extruding it and turns it into a dragon. It's amazing to watch, from a block to a dragon.
Oh, that is pretty awesome, isn't it? It makes me want to make a dragon now. So
there you go.
Here we go. That's the
everybody wants one. Let's go. Make a dragon.
Yep.
Now that Deadpool video you have on YouTube, is characters like that easy to make? Is that like after editing it took you like 15 minutes, but is that like a longer process? Like, is that something people should strive for when making characters when they're first starting out?
I think that's a good starting point, and it's not obviously anywhere near as in depth as the course, and it's not the sculpting workflow that's usually used, but it's a really good starting point, and I would say it's an easy win. I try and make most of my YouTube an easy win in some way, but it might have a slightly more advanced bit and push yourself in this direction. But I think if you're reasonably competent, you've done a few sort of low poly work in Blender and stuff, you should be able to make this Funko Pop Deadpool, as they are, those big-headed models.
Yeah. You should make a Geralt one.
Yes, definitely.
And in 3D print it? That'd be cool.
Oh, definitely.
Now, when it comes to studying every day, is there anything specific you should study, or is it just go and create?
Yeah. Now, of course, there's 2 sides to being a 3D artist, and there's the art side and there's the technical side. So, as much as I can, I was disciplined at one time, and I'd be doing this much artwork and this much sort of tutorials myself to learn a bit more. technically. But I just kind of take it as it comes now. And I feel like technically I'm fairly competent in Blender, so I need to get my art skills up. So sort of work on the weaknesses, make sure you level them out. Yeah, creating a sort of plan and thinking about which aspects to work on is certainly useful. And I like to go back again to working on your weaknesses. But yeah, starting off with I suppose disciplining yourself to have 10 minutes this, 10 minutes that, and so forth is a great plan. But again, be adaptable. I was kind of repeating myself with all these things, aren't I? But yeah, it's my,
but it
my
gets it in the
thoughts
head, though.
Yeah.
At the end, they'll be like, I know what I need to do. Easy wins. Easy wins.
Easy wins.
Because to be honest, you can tell somebody one thing once, and they'll be like, "I got you." But after hearing it over and over and actually understanding it, because the more we go into it, you're like, "That makes sense. I understand. Easy win. Yeah. I got this." Like they, processed it.
I think that easy win thing is so important to me. It became a catchphrase at college because I used to say it so much when we're talking about teaching and what we were going to plan to do. And a lot of the time as a teacher, you might be quite a way above your students, and you think an easy win, and you go way too far, and then you think that was not an easy win. That was actually painful for the students. But it's really, and I always use the game analogies again. Everybody finds games fun, and what's the ratio that they talk about? Challenge to fun ratio that they call in games. It's something.
I know the graph, but I don't know the ratio about it.
And there's a line to meet, isn't there? That just enough challenge with just enough difficulty. Challenge, fun, achievement. I think
it's happening. Where is it? Right? It's like I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so challenge and achievement, I think, something like that. And there's a sweet spot in the middle, and you've got to be like that with your life in a way when you're planning these things and practicing. It's enough of a challenge that it's not easy. Not too easy, otherwise you're just creating, I don't know, stickmen all the time with your artwork. You've got to take that next step in the challenge, and then you think, I've achieved it. So you've got that level of achievement. So getting the right balance and easy wins, but there's still, it's the next step, and there's an easy win on the next step up as well. So you're always developing those easy wins.
Can't seem to find the, oh wait, no, here it is. It's like the flow. So you got on the, let's see, we got on the high. So if you have skill and it's on high, but your difficulty is low, then you got boredom.
Yes, this is it.
Yeah, and then if you got your skill low, but your difficulty high, then you have anxiety. You can't. But then you get the happy medium where it's like your skill's in the middle and your difficulty's in the middle. Basically, the game, and then it's a continuing upward trend. So you continue to build your skill, and the game gets harder and harder. You're like constant fun. You're like, it's a little bit challenging, but not too challenging.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
You gotta have that happy medium.
Exactly. Yep.
So getting there though is the hard part, especially with your own life, because you look at your games. But how can I make my life a happy medium? Don't make WoW. We have a joke where it's like games like don't make WoW. Don't try to make like the hardest thing. I don't know what would be the hardest thing in character, like a full-on detailed
a dragon.
Yeah,
a dragon.
Yeah, a fully detailed dragon, not like a low poly dragon, but like a fully detailed dragon. Don't do that right out of the box. Don't make WoW.
Yeah, don't make WoW dragons.
Yeah.
Yep. Here we go.
There it is.
That's fun. That should be the title of this podcast, shouldn't
it? Don't make WoW.
Yeah.
We joked about that all the time. Now, since starting with the GameDev.tv community, what have you seen students? What is the common theme when people are taking the course that you might have not seen in the YouTube videos?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It's nice to see because it's nice to see that the students are usually a bit more engaged. I think it's just that commitment to buying a course, whereas on YouTube, I obviously get people, and I don't mean to be rude about my audience, but you're bound to get...
calling them out.
Yeah, but you're bound to get people that sort of, I like that thumbnail, and they click on it, and then this looks a bit difficult, and then that's the last you'll see of them, sort of thing. Whereas because the students are more sort of committed, because they've actually thought, right, I want to do this, I'm going to go down the paid for course route, and that's nice to see, because I was worried at times that I was going too far, and they weren't easy wins. The next step was quite a tough one, and I was thinking, am I going to lose lots of students at this point of view? But it's really incredible to see that they in fact, because we the courses are released quite early, aren't they? And that before they're finished, to sort of see how they're going, see if we need to change anything. And people were catching up with where I was up to. And I was thinking, I thought that was going to take people, months to do. And they've just binge watched it for
they were like,
a few hours.
4 to 6 hours, let's go.
I'm going to build me that dragon.
I'm going to make WoW tonight.
Yeah.
You're like, where's the rest of the course? You're like, whoa, slow down. That's the common theme in YouTube videos. I mean, YouTube comments. They're like, people will make a course, and then they're like, so where's the end? How come I didn't make GTA yet? And I was like, well, no, it's not. It's not what the course is for. It's to get you so you can make your own.
I certainly get that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, man. Now, what are your type of challenges you do every day, or your 10-minute? Is it do you challenge yourself to make 10-minute characters, or you're doing art now, right? Like, how's your day like?
The thing I'm disciplining myself at the moment, because I generally have I'll watch a random tutorial at the beginning of the day. So, and it's quite nice because people send me courses to review, so I can have a look through them and see if there's anything I can learn myself from them. And then obviously I can review them and give them a positive tick. This is a good course and stuff. So usually I do that sort of thing in the morning. But I'm quite sort of comfortable with that now. So that's just part of my life, it feels like. But my discipline routine, that I have to kind of discipline myself. At the end of the day, I'm a little bit tired, and I think, I'll just settle into the sofa and watch some TV. Oh, that'd be lovely.
But Witcher 3,
Yeah. But the great thing about TV is that I thought, well, actually, I can still do that. And sometimes that's a good idea with disciplining yourselves. Try and incorporate it into something that happens anyway into your life. So I watch TV. And I sit there and I go on my phone whilst watching TV. I know it's a bit silly because you're watching TV twice almost, aren't you? But I'll just be scrolling through the news and half watching whatever is on TV. So I thought, right, well, I'll get my graphics tablet out and start drawing on that. So I'm disciplining myself whilst watching TV to do at least 3 characters. So I have a pose generator, a program that just has pictures of people, and you have to quickly draw them within a certain amount of time. And some days I'll only do 1. Some days I'll do 3, and maybe some days I'll just do something completely different and do a weird character face or something. But as long as I'm chipping away with these easy wins.
Yeah. No, that's another easy win. It's like you can still watch your favorite show and just do whatever you're doing. Because to be honest, after you've learned how to kind of do it, you don't really need to focus that much on how I do it. You just make it. And you can be distracted while doing it. You can listen to music, you listen to podcasts, you do whatever, and while you're just kind of doodling, coding, anything else, until you get to the point where it's like, all right, now how do I do this? Then you might have to watch TV. But yeah, and those are easy wins because you're comfortable, you're having fun, you're doing it.
Exactly. The important thing is though, because you still have to do those bits of practice that are hard. So
yeah, of course.
So occasionally I've had to look up references of faces and say, well, where should the eyes be on the head? Where should the nose be? And you have to do a bit of learning. But that learning comes in between those sort of easier doings. And then when you go back to that learning, you suddenly understand it more because you've been doing it in between with some nice easy wins. So it's sort of a process.
Easy win life.
Easy win life. It's my motto.
No, but it's great because it's so at the beginning of the day, maybe because morning is supposed to be the best time to study. So you study maybe 10 minutes or an hour of focus study, and then the rest of the day you go on your day. But you can now that you've done that 1 hour, you're like, maybe I'll doodle here while watching TV, doodle that while I don't know, or listen to a video about character art while doing the dishes or something. It's just but you still feel like you're learning. You just you're not putting too much pressure. You're it's the end of the night. I don't feel like going hardcore studying, but let me relax and let me do this. Again, making things easy, making your life an easy win.
That's exactly really it. Make it easy.
Yeah. You got to get a banner or something, or even behind you, be easy win life. Get t-shirts.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose it's important as well to say that it's not because I make it sound, because always when I'm talking like this is my ideals, and occasionally I'll have a day I think it was 2 days ago where I just felt absolutely exhausted, and I have a bare minimum that I achieve. And that's a must do. So in exercise, you've got to do this bare minimum. In drawing, you've got to do this bare minimum. And everything on that day was bare minimum. But I still made progress. On a day where I felt absolutely dreadful, there was progress there. very minimal progress, but it happened. And so bare minimums is another catchphrase I have as well in the classroom. Just get those bare minimums done, and you'll be fine. You'll keep making progress, and you don't stagnate.
Oh, beautifully said. Now, this is different because the times are changing, and I think it's actually easier. But how would you network as a character artist with like online communities?
Yeah, now that's a really good question, and it's quite tough for me to answer because I've taken such a weird pathway into the industry, going down the teaching route and then a YouTube channel, and then kind of getting noticed through the YouTube channel. But that was more noticed for my teaching and the fact that I had lots of subscribers, more than my artwork. I feel like I'm never quite sure, but so I worked. So the biggest job I've had in the games arena is working for Atlas Empires, which still hasn't been released yet, actually, because of the lockdown meant that it's sort of delayed the release. But I was making lots of buildings and stuff, hand-painted stuff. And they noticed me through my YouTube channel. I think part of it was thinking they're going to have some cross-promotion on my YouTube channel whilst I'm making the models and promoting their game and so forth. So so my networking is going to be very different from someone who's just started. They spent, I don't know, maybe gone to uni or done a few courses and they're ready to get out there. It's much tougher for them, and it's difficult for me to then appreciate what they're going through and advise them. But I would always say immersing yourself in the world and in the community is a good start, and it's quite fun. So you go on forums, you check out, you try and team up with a few people, maybe on a mini project, just while you're looking for work, and that way you're at least building up contacts. Maybe one of them will get a job and say, oh, I know this great character artist or whatever it is. So building up that network of people by going on Discords, forums and all sorts, meeting new people in the industry or in the same position as you, and working with them, entering a few silly competitions like the ones that I run on my Discord channel. It's quite fun because you've got a goal, you've got you're meeting people and talking about the challenge and so forth. So that's a good starting point. But it's very tough to make those steps and to build up a network and get in there. Once you're in there and you've got your first job, then you're okay. You've got that work experience, which is all vital, and you'll be fine. But it's getting that is very difficult. What I wouldn't do, and this is, it's my opinion, but what I wouldn't do is go onto sites like Fiverr or Upwork and freelancer.com, because they're all really low pay, and you're competing against millions of people, and people that go on there, they're going on there as a one-off. They're not going to be big companies looking for people on Fiverr. So you're not going to, you might get one job, maybe two jobs. But in my opinion, again, and my experience, when I was first starting out thinking, oh, I'll have a go at this, it was very difficult to get continued, and you could get work, but continued good work, just it wasn't there. And it was really tough. And there was no networking happening. So I'd have one client and never hear from them again, even though I thought, I put extra effort in trying to, because that's what you do when you start out. You try and work your very, very hardest for that client in the hope that they'll come back to you or recommend you to someone else. But there weren't those sort of jobs. There were sort of people doing this odd sort of hobby thing. So they're not really in the industry themselves. Otherwise, they'd look for a full-time person rather than someone on Fiverr. And again, that is my opinion, but I'd steer clear of those routes. I haven't heard much success stories from them. Personal success stories. You always see the YouTuber or someone who's done really well, but I think they're few and far between, those people who do well on those sites.
Now, what would you say for the GameDev.tv students? Say to continue to network with everybody in the community, and eventually, just as they branch out, bring them along. Yeah,
exactly that. Yeah, so get involved with that community, share your work, get feedback, because then you can work on your weaknesses. And it's a really nice community, isn't it? Where everybody's really supportive, and that's quite, they're sort of easy. It's an easy win place, isn't it? Because people are, they're giving you encouragement, but also giving you some constructive criticism at the same time in a nice soft way. Usually no one's saying that's rubbish, that is, no one's doing that. So you're kind of safe in that environment, and then sort of build on it, go to other forums. I mean, there's tougher forums like ArtStation, where you've got all the pros are going. So you might feel it's a tougher environment to get noticed at all and find friends there. But that's the next step. So again, it's steps and baby steps, easy wins, and so forth.
I'm telling you, it's a T-shirt coming.
It's coming.
No, I honestly think making a podcast is a great way to network and meet people and learn. So like, for instance, if somebody wants to do character art, they can go and interview a bunch of different character artists, learn a ton from them, and also get to know them. Because there's a lot of people who've done the podcast with where like I still talk to this day, and it's like, it's cool. And it's like here and there I ask them questions, or I can even be like, hey, like if I want to go to the studio, how does it work? But like stuff like that, just like put yourself out there, and you never know what could happen. It doesn't even have to be like an hour-long podcast. It could be short little YouTube videos, 15 minutes. Who knows? Just like put yourself out there into the world and see what happens.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's I steer clear of saying that sometimes because it's easy for me to say with a big channel. So I feel like it's unfair for me to say that, but that's how it worked for me. So I totally agree. You create and make a podcast, and it also something like a podcast. You have to kind of keep it up. You have to keep going with it, so it disciplines you at the same time, doesn't it?
It does,
so
yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like I've been consistent since day one, and actually some of my friends have been trying to do their own podcast, and it's like it's not consistent. And I'm like, oh wow, it's actually kind of hard. Like if you don't plan it out or put time aside, like you won't go to it. You won't make it happen. So you know,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
got to make an easy win, right?
You've got to make
have everything set up. Just like, all right, today's a podcast, or today's this, or today's that. That's another thing too. How do you have like your setup? Do you have it where it's like you can instantly get to work right away? And is that very important for people to do? Have like your own setup?
Yeah, it's easy for me to say because I've got a nice big room here. I don't know, I could pan my camera around, I suppose, but a nice little office, which is sort of like the spare bedroom, and I've got lots of space, so I'm quite lucky in that sense. So I can literally turn the computer on and I'm away. Sort of no interruptions, and I could put some music on or whatever, and I can record straight away. It's all set up, ready for that. Although I did replace my computer recently, so I had to rejig everything, and that's a real pain, isn't it? But it is important to. I call that taking down the barriers. For me, sometimes character art, I want to be good on Photoshop, so I want to be able to sort of color in and all that sort of stuff. But it's sometimes a bit of a barrier just getting the computer out and getting Photoshop loaded up and getting the pen. It sounds weird, but that 1 minute barrier is actually a slight barrier to when I'm sitting in front of the TV. So that's when I've actually got a sketch pad and pencil under my sofa. I just drag that out, start sketching.
Wow.
Yeah.
But so that makes sense. It's an easy win.
Easy win. Break down the barriers.
I don't think people realize how important it is. It's like your brain wants you to be lazy, and like, so it's like, hey, make it so that even though you're lazy, you're like, oh, it's right there. Boom, let's do it. Like,
I built a career off of being lazy. It's why I love writing automation.
Yes, indeed.
It's true though. You're like, I want this to happen all the time. Let me just program something. Boom, does it all by itself.
Yeah.
I think that just drawing while watching TV thing, I do that sometimes as well. I'll just have my sketch pad and I'll just be watching something completely innocuous on TV that I can just absorb into my skin like a frog, and then but actually I'm doing the proper work. Sketching.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. If I'm feeling like I want to push myself a bit further, then I'll try and draw some of the people that are on TV. Yeah. So I'll try and combine it like that, perhaps. Or if I'm just feeling lazy, then it's just a simple character today and with really silly nose or something, so I don't have to think too much.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, when somebody wants to move from, let's say, just studying to now going out there and like getting jobs, what advice would you give them? Like, how should they set up their portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, portfolio is going to be absolutely essential in this in our career. And it's interesting. I had a YouTube question today about do you get a certificate at the end of the course? And I'm thinking, well, yeah, I mean, but your focus is in the wrong place. Portfolio is far more important than the certificate. Mm-hmm. Although it's nice to feel you've achieved something, and if you need to show someone, you've got that. But that is so essential to have your portfolio sorted and ready to go. Having said that, it can be a bit of a barrier as well, can't it? So if you've only got a few good pieces, then you just go with that, and you start getting out there. And maybe your first few sort of interviews, if you get them, you may not even get them, or your first few conversations with people about portfolio might go badly, but at least it gives you some pointers and direction to go in to build from. I'm one of those people that I feel like you just got to go for it sometimes, and that's how I felt about my YouTube channel. There was lots of barriers in the way to even starting, and it was I need to get a good camera. I need to get a good microphone. My computer isn't powerful enough, and so forth. There's all these different things that can stop you from doing it. Well, okay, so I'll just do the first video. It's going to be rubbish. I'll probably delete it later, but at least I've started. And it's picking up the pen and actually turning up, as you said earlier.
Yes,
it's all important. So it's sort of deviated from the question slightly there, but get your portfolio out there, even if it's rubbish. And I know there's loads of advice about, portfolio, get rid of all your bad pieces and all that sort of stuff. But you've got to start somewhere, and you need to. If you don't start, you won't fail, and therefore you won't learn from your mistakes. One of my mottos is fail often. So just do it and fail, and do it and fail, and then do it the next time, and you might actually get it right, and just keep building up like that. What is it? I think it was some Yoda quote or something.
Do or do not. There is no try. Or which one is it?
It's I've lost it now. But,
He's in the voice.
He's in the voice. No. wait. Is it from the new movie? Because I know it says
do
fail.
not. There is no try.
No.
Oh wait, I think I know what you're talking about now. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Was that you, Aaron?
The proverb was, if you show me a master that hasn't failed, I'll show you that they aren't a master. But it's a bit complicated. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's in the wait. I don't know if that's what he said, but it says failure is not the end. I don't even know if this is him, but if an individual never fails, he never tried. Unless he never tries, he won't succeed. Something that's what I got from YouTube. I don't know if that's what he said.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
There's a shorter version which is really succinct, and I can't remember it.
I feel like there was a quote like that from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon as well. Like real sharpness comes without effort, or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to think of all these quotes. I love this.
It's interesting about portfolio building as well, because if you never start building a body of work, even if it's just very rough and ready, you'll never have that kind of polished portfolio that everybody aspires to have. So you have to start somewhere, don't you, really?
Oh, absolutely. And it's daunting because I see a lot of advice about portfolios, but it's from these absolute pros, and they're ripping into people's portfolios, which is good advice. But then it makes you scared, doesn't it? So everybody's just get out there, start, and then you just you get a new piece, which is better, and you get rid of your old one. It's sort of like this weird cascading. Yeah, sort of a shelf of plates, and one's fallen off and smashed. Then there's a new shiny one up there,
Yeah, it makes sense.
So I went to a breaking into the game industry event back before Corona happened, and basically when making a portfolio, when you're doing it, go and make art that the studio makes. Like if you're trying to work for Blizzard, make Overwatch characters, and just put the portfolio with those Overwatch characters and make sure they're very detailed and polished and just like they would be in the game. And that way they can see, all right, if we hire him day one or hire him or her, they'll be boom, like they'll look characters just like in the game. They'll be able to do probably work for like weekend. They'll be easy to train. Like everything will just be like simple. It's easier for them to see that and go, well, you're perfect. And then also with like resumes and stuff, it's like make sure you have, because they said this too. They make sure you have your name, some way to contact you, because they've had resumes where people don't put their phone and email somehow. It's like so you can have the greatest art ever, but if they can't contact you, like problem. So make sure you got that too. Don't forget that game.
And remember that most businesses don't recognize Twitter as a valid way to communicate with someone.
Yes.
Yep.
And or Snapchat or Instagram DMs or anything like that.
And just DM me on Instagram.
I've had a few funny ones with just the email address name. and you think you've got to change your email.
Oh
Big
yeah.
boy 123 is not.
Oh, man. That's a good.
That's
one. Yeah,
actually one. I have a domain that I've been using for longer than my children have been alive, and it always ends up being a pretty decent conversation piece because it's somewhat unique. My email is aaron@carryingthewhale.com. Long, involved story behind that domain name that we won't get into right now.
It's a good icebreaker, though.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, totally. I mean, people always ask about it, especially for work. They're like, "Oh, that's unique," and like, yeah, it's something. It's worth the $35 a year to maintain a custom domain.
Yeah, I did that, and it was one of the best things I ever did. Was getting a custom domain for sure.
Nice. Do you think GameDev.tv students can have a career with just the courses, or do they need to go to college, or is college irrelevant nowadays?
That's a really, really tough question to answer. And I've seen from my students, because I teach sixth form students, so they're about to either go off to college or go into the industry. Very, very tough to go from the sixth form into the industry. But I reckon that if you're committed and you can do a few sort of GameDev.tv courses and things like that, you are prepared for the industry as much as you are if you go to and do a degree. But you have to think about the time that someone's working on the degree. So if it's let's say 3 years, how much time are they putting into that? So you're probably going to have to do the equivalent in terms of courses to be at their level. There is a sort of time aspect, unless you can sort of train a bit harder and maybe you can spend more time on it. I don't know, but really the courses that we offer are the same, and maybe in some cases better than universities. It depends on the university. You are missing out a little bit on the networking aspect of university, so you'll need to get onto forums and chat to people and build your network and things. But a university that offers industry placements, that's quite a useful one as well, isn't it? So you can actually get into the industry and start working with people. That's going to be really helpful. But there's only a few that offer those. It's quite hard to get those places even. So I would say if you're really committed, you do not need to go to university. And I've seen one of my students did really well. He's working at the mill in London, and he went straight from the sixth form, which is really rare, and straight into an apprentice there, and then now he's working on all sort of adverts and things, visual effects and stuff. So it can work. And there's a few success stories like that, which again is really rare to go from this sort of sixth form course, which is quite basic really that we do. In fact, the course the character course is more in depth than what they do in their 2 years at sixth form. So they managed to go from that into careers in the industry. So if you can do the character course and you can produce a couple of characters, you're ready, for steps into the industry. Then I would say.
There you
We're
go.
about to have like a massive cash injection into apprenticeships and training in the UK as well. So hopefully more things for people to go into that maybe isn't university if that's not what they want to do. So we'll have to see what happens. But that would be really cool. Yeah,
I mean, it's one of the fastest growing industries, isn't it, in the UK? So there's work out there, but you might have to move away and stuff, and it's tricky to find it, but it is out there definitely. Yeah,
for sure.
Nice. Now I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the Unreal Engine 5 and the PS5 demo?
Yeah, I did a YouTube video because I was on that very subject, because I was so taken aback by it. It was just awesome, and it makes you think hard as well about the career path, and there's all sorts of questions that brings up. My initial thoughts, obviously, when you see those things, they're usually about 10 years away, maybe 5 years. Depends. So the realism, the realism aspect was unbelievable. But then you look at the character, and that was still the character that we'd see in a normal game these days. It was still a great character. So they're still struggling with. So the premise being that we can now go from something like ZBrush. I was going to say ZBrush then. Excuse my British accent. ZBrush or Blender sculpting and go straight into the game engine, which I'm thinking, whoa, that's just a game changer. I'd absolutely love that. All this flipping baking normal maps and stuff. We don't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be amazing? And yes, that's definitely in the future, because that's a part that they're trying to get rid of. They're trying to push the computer processors as far as they can, the programming as far as they can, and get rid of the need to minimize art, which is what normal maps are. But they still haven't been able to do it. They still haven't been able to do it on the character yet. So we're a long way away from getting rid of the process that we go through in the character making course, which is starting with a sculpt, retopology, bake your normal maps, do your painting and all that sort of stuff. But I would love it if we moved past those boring stages, which are uncreative. They're just sort of optimizing your character for games, when it stops you creating art. So how many characters do we see with helmets on, because the face details are too much, so it limits art, it limits creativity. So I'm very excited about it, but obviously there's a long way to go before we actually reach those heavy heights.
Well, now hold on a second, because I've got to inject a little bit of nerd tech talk here. I wrote a blog about this as well, okay? But I got to challenge what you're saying there a little bit, because I took away something a little different from that entire thing. The comment that I found most key in the entire discussion was when he said that we have almost got one triangle per pixel on the screen. Yeah, and I think that's the more important part, is that essentially the way that, so understand I also do engine coding, right? So that's my background here. Awesome. The way that we go about determining the Z buffer for each of those pixels is such that it doesn't actually matter how complicated or uncomplicated the source material is. If you are essentially making a per pixel determination of what you're drawing on the screen, as you're going through and rendering the buffers, then that kind of like makes the other part of it, the complexity of the model, kind of a moot point, because really we're rendering every single pixel by getting the best data that we possibly can out of what's in the buffer, right? So you can absolutely use, what he was saying in that video, a model with 30 million polys, because it's still only sampling one pixel. And I think that was kind of the key part of that video that I took away, was just like, at this point now, all we can do is we can just make that pixel more and more, like higher quality, right? Because the number of pixels on the screen isn't really going to increase a whole lot, so that shift is now, we can fill the entire screen in 1,000 times a second or whatever, right? Yeah. And you can spend so much more time, rendering through the quality to make sure that you get just the right color pixel, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But I suppose the issue comes more when you've got a massive, I don't know how many gigabytes download that would be. So we'd still have to optimize for downloading, and what we see on screen, and when the character moves, well, maybe what you're saying there makes sense too. I'm not sure, because I don't know the ins and outs.
But I mean, you're not going to be packaging up 30 gigabyte character models to render on your Xbox, right? I mean,
exactly.
Even with a terabyte size hard drive, that's one game, right? Maybe.
Yeah. So I think we've still got a fair way to go before we reach those heady heights, sort of thing. But it's just so cool, isn't it, to see? It's really happening, that we're getting much closer to being able to just realize art without too many issues. Loving it, absolutely loving it.
Did you ever watch the Blender Guru video about AI and how it's going to change like art? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Now that's that video.
Very interesting. And I thought he presented that really well, as much as he's my nemesis because he's got a million subscribers. And the amount of donut questions I still get.
No.
But he's quite right. I can't remember whether you mentioned it in the talk, but I'm a chess person as well, and Kasparov was Garry Kasparov, the famous chess player. Hopefully everybody remembers him.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, I love him.
Yeah,
I took a master class from him.
There we go. Yeah. Or maybe I won't play you then.
I'm a little rusty though, but I'll take the master class again and I'll show you guys what's up.
But he's done lots of work with the combination of AI and human experience. And I'm thinking, oh, now that's interesting. It's not AI taking over, but it's us integrating with AI. Now, I actually have no doubts that the stage beyond that is actually AI taking over. So we all in every career, you're going to be obsolete at some point, aren't you? Even they're saying, oh, well, carers and teachers, you can't, they'll have robot carers and they'll have robot teachers without too much problem at some point.
I like Kurzweil's projection of the singularity, where essentially there won't be a distinction between a computer intelligence and a human intelligence.
Yeah. Now that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, no, he also, like you were talking about, Kasparov was, it has a projection to about 2050 is where his timeline goes, and he's got it like segmented up into various bridges since like the 90s, I think, when he wrote this book. We're at bridge 2 of 6 right now, and it's been like pretty much right on peg as he's predicted. So it's pretty interesting. He was an early days inventor. Kurzweil keyboards, electronic keyboards and synthesizers were some of the early very famous electronics equipment there. He was a genius inventor, and definitely dived into where is the future headed when it comes to technology. And it's amazing. I believe in 10 years, like, virtual reality will be indistinguishable from real reality when you're in it, a headset or whatever. I mean, we've already seen somebody's now manufactured AR contact lenses. So I mean, we're there. That's been the thing that I've always said. Like, nobody will ever do augmented reality until it's a contact lens, because nobody's going to wear glasses. I mean, Google Glass was a great product, but nobody did it, right?
Yeah. No, totally. It's very exciting, but it is also daunting, and lots of challenges come with that, don't they? In terms of the job market and our careers, and you do have to think about that,
right?
Yeah, we all have to think about it, and because I feel for people starting off in the industry. They're all saying things like, "Well, what program do I learn because because it's industry standard?" But what about when you're in the industry is in maybe 3 years, and what program's going to be the big program then? And what you have to be ready and to understand with a career, in my opinion, if you're just starting out, is to be adaptable and not to resist change, because there's lots of people out there, who probably thinking, oh, I'm going to be baking my normal maps forever because that's the traditional way to do it, or something like that. But you can't be resistant to this change. And if we're all going to be wearing these contact lenses, we've got to be prepared as game artists. How are we going to make the most of that and design for that, and thinking about the challenges, and always, I think, thinking about those, how AI is going to work, how we're going to work with AI and how it's going to work with us. And one thing that's the struggle for AI is, at the moment anyway, is that sort of creativity. And so working on that, getting sort of ideas down and working on creating ideas, then you're going to still be useful, maybe. Hopefully, right? Be useful.
maybe your brain will be useful as a source of random chaos to some AI program someday.
Yeah, there we go. That's important. Or just a battery.
Oh no. Now, what are you most excited about the future of 3D? Like, where do you see it all going in the next 10, 20 years?
Yeah, it's so difficult to say, isn't it? There's so many elements to it. I love the fact that we've got 3D printing is becoming fairly normal now, and that keeps developing all the time. I'm very excited to see whether that goes. And then there's obviously augmented reality, virtual reality, and so forth, and then contact lenses. Hopefully we get them. I suppose the concern is, for me, because I'm quite philosophical about these things, and I think about, well, there's going to be the have and have nots, as it were, has been written about before, and those people that can afford the technology and those that can't, and then how's this going to work in society and stuff. But I'm genuinely excited and optimistic about it all, but I'm quite philosophical and political at times as well. So I always think about how that's going to work, like we've seen with going off on one a little bit with Cambridge Analytica, and how that manipulated people into voting for certain parties and positions, and it's changed our world through the manipulation and use of data. So I've no doubt that it will change our world as well. And I do wonder whether we will rather than developing, the teleportation, whether we will just be sort of almost plugged into computers because we'll kind of have to be, and we'll become part of the machine. But that's my ramblings going off on one there. But it is exciting to think about the developments and what that means for our industry and what we can create. And I'm looking forward to the day when I can just create, and so I sculpt a person, and then instantly they're rigged and they're ready to go in my own sort of movie, and then I can just put them in there and create my own movie without having to worry about normal maps, for example. So it is exciting times.
No, it is. I'm so excited to see what's gonna happen, and oh my gosh, it's gonna be great. I'm glad I'm just getting started in the industry too, because there's
yeah.
I think a funny aspect of a lot of this is like the reason why my understanding of the motivation behind why people would not really get into augmented reality until it's a contact lens is because people are vain. This is my core belief, is that a person doesn't want to look like they have some weird device attached to their face. It's when you look at like the Star Trek mythology about the Borg, that was one of the things about the Borg, was that the concept of vanity had been basically removed from them in as a slave to the practicality of doing the things that they did to modify their bodies, right? But I don't think that that'll be the case with people. I think that we're generally just too vain. We won't see cybernetic replacements that don't look like skin. We won't see augmented reality that doesn't allow us to look like we still have eyes. It's good. The technology will evolve to the point where, we will be able to replace body parts with pieces of technology that look like humans. And I think that that's going to be kind of the point where people will accept that kind of stuff. Now, another little bit of a personal story here, but I went through cancer a couple of years ago, and I had an implant put in for the chemotherapy delivery, and it actually was strangely impactful in the long term to my body, even though it was just basically a very small catheter line, just a 4 millimeter, no, like 1 millimeter, maybe 1.5 millimeter, right? I mean, just super teeny, and it threw my shoulders alignment off, like basically permanently, as far as I can tell. I can't even sleep on my right side anymore. So again, all of that kind of stuff matters when it comes to technology integrating with people. It has to get to the point where we can fool our brains into believing that that body part is a real body part, that it looks the way that we want it to look, because people are ultimately just vain. And enjoy comfort. Yeah. I mean, that's really what we're looking for, something to make our life better, not necessarily,
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. When you think about Apple and how they did so well, was the design. It wasn't the function. It was the function as well, but that was as a bigger part was the design. And I totally agree. The human element, it can't be denied.
Sorry, this is an interview of you, and I've been rambling all afternoon. My bad.
I'm quite enjoying this. It's a nice discussion, this.
Yeah. So, don't want to take any more time, but we're going to wrap it up. But before we end it, we always, just like the courses, we have a challenge at the end. So if you want to give a challenge to all the GameDev.tv students, a challenge could be about anything, Blender related, or anything else you find important, like success or shortcuts or sacrifices.
Okay, yeah. So think today about a routine. Start your routine today. Make it nice and easy, so you've got a bare minimum. So it might be something really simple, like I'm going to do. Mine is 10 minutes of pose drawing each day, and that's my bare minimum. I have to do 10 minutes. Usually it turns into 20 or 30 minutes, but doing just that 10 minutes has meant that I've always picked up the pen and paper each day. So you're going to do the same. You GameDev.tv people, you're going to do the same.
Yes.
And you're going to adopt a small challenge, but make it really small. Make it easy. Easy wins. Don't think about the dragons.
Don't think about WoW.
But easy wins that you can complete in 10 minutes. And if that 10 minutes develops into 15 and 20, that's great. But just the bare minimum for 1 week. See how you get on and see whether it becomes a pattern and a tradition in your life.
Beautiful. Well, it was awesome having you on. It was awesome sharing your behind the scenes with the character cores, more about Blender and all that. And we like to end this by handing the mic to you if you want to do any shout outs, any inspirational quotes, anything. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much. It was absolutely delightful. I haven't got any quotes. I'll probably use them all up, I think, in this time.
Your inventory is empty.
I suppose the one last thing is to make sure you're enjoying it, and you anything that's you're having fun with, you'll keep going at. So yeah, keep up the fun, keep the enjoyment going, and I'll look forward to seeing what you create.
Well, that's it. Thanks for listening. You can find all GameDev.tv courses at courses.GameDev.tv/courses or in the show notes with a 10% discount. Get started with your game development journey today.